Hello everyone and welcome to this Facebook Live video about why low expectations are not the best way to avoid the disappointment. This is a really popular one, and this was one that had popped up earlier on today, and it's kind of a thing that I have taken on in my past, wherein I was very much like expect the least, and then nothing can really disappoint me, and I'm gonna be okay, everything's gonna be fine. And, you know, obviously I go to schools and I teach youngsters about learning abilities and memory skills, etc., etc. And they, too, have this thing about, well, you know, set your expectations low. And then if things don't go well, you're all right. But if things do go well, then you're surprised and you're pleasantly surprised. Wonderful. Fantastic. Hello, Stuart. Hi. Welcome into the room. Oh, yes. Also, I will say now that there's a different setup, as you can see. I'm not going to, obviously I won't do the Facebook Lives in the car anymore because it was a bad decision, and I'll accept that. It was a bad decision to do that in the first place, so I shouldn't have done that. But of course I'll do it right here in my living room. Well, hello, welcome to not my living room, my study, if you like. And then it just means that I won't know who's watching and who isn't. I don't know. So I'm just going to boot up the screen there, and that's really it. But yeah, so it's this idea that low expectations, you know, and will protect us from being disappointed in life. Now, there's one big thing that I see. It's the elephant in the room with that. And I look at it again from kind of the analytical point of view, in which what you're doing when you're a kind of person who says, I have low expectations, and I do hope the person who I am doing this for does come into the room eventually. But when you say things like, you know, I set my low expectations, at least when I was doing this, there was a number of things I remember going on in my head and in my sensations of how my days would go. And it was very much, I kind of already set myself up for the fact that I wasn't able to achieve anything high, if that makes sense. I didn't think that it was possible for me to have medium or high expectations because I would never meet them. My self-esteem, my confidence, whatever you want to call it, was not in place for me to have that ability to say, you know what, I'm going to set my expectations high. Because what I was telling myself was that I am sick and tired of being disappointed in the decisions that I've made in life. I'm sick and tired of the disappointment that I bring myself. So do you know what? From now on, I'm going to expect the least, and then from there, I won't be disappointing myself. I didn't want to feel disappointed. So there's so many things already that we look into that and we go, right, so you're afraid of disappointment, you don't want to let yourself down, but also you're not ready, you're not in a state of mind to be able to take on the responsibilities of high expectations. So we're looking at a number of things that really that want to be addressed, that want to be looked at. Because for one, that disappointment, that sense of disappointment, I mean, that's natural for one thing. Of course, the amount of times we experience it and the depth at which we experience it, that might vary, and that might suggest whether or not that's natural. But we're always going to have moments, or there's always going to be a moment heading our way in which we're going to be disappointed, or we're going to let someone down. That's a very natural, accepting part of life, you know. And of course, it's what we do with that makes the difference. And when I say that, actually, something happened this very day, not 20 minutes ago, actually, in which I had to address it. Something that I haven't sorted out yet, and it happened, and I was aware, and I was like, we really need to look at this, Daniel. But I'm aware that I need to work on it. It's not something that I go, right, no, let's avoid all instances of it. Because, again, that's where my being wants to go. It wants to go away from it, wants to escape it. But I know that actually, no, I want to address it and hit it face on. So we do this with disappointment. We don't want to, hey, what are you blowing me out for, camera? Get it together, son. We do this with disappointment. We don't want to be, we don't want to be in this state where we might disappoint ourselves. We might let ourselves down. But then, again, in that regard, I'd say, well, how, as cheesy as I know we've heard this a million times, but it's so relevant. How do we progress then? How do we learn? Because we won't. How do we grow? How do we develop? How do we get more into our lives? How do we bring more things in, you know, without having to disappoint ourselves? Because that disappointment also can translate into failure. And that fear of failure, of course, then will translate into this low self-esteem, low confidence thing. And so it just continues to burrow down into the depths of the lack of worth we see in ourselves. And so it's not just a simple case of avoiding a disappointment or going, you know, at least then if things don't work out, I'm okay. Because that's also another thing. You can be okay if things don't work out with high expectations. That's still a possibility. You can still be in a state where you expect a lot from something. For example, this event coming up. I can expect for 50 seats to be filled and actually for the back row of the room to have like 10 people standing there who just didn't get tickets in time. I can expect that. Now, if 2 people come into the room and sit down, of course I'm going to be disappointed. But I will know why. I will know exactly what happened, and I will be able to work with that, you know? Or at least I could turn around and go, do you know what, actually, I can see what went wrong here. I can see where maybe this happened, why this resulted this way. And yeah, I'm going to feel a little disappointed, but I won't let that hold me back. I'm still going to want to do more. I'm still going to want to grow. I'm still going to want to progress because effectively something's gone wrong and I want to know what it is. Because my intentions and my goal is to make an event in which people can learn something. People have something to take away that they can use for themselves. Now, let's translate this into, let's see now, a big one. Okay, let's translate this into work. A lot of us may have jobs where we like things to be easy. We like being in a job where we know our job. And again, this was me, and I look at a lot of people around me, and this is the way a lot of people lived. We live in jobs where we've done it for a long time, so that's what we do. And actually the fear, can be in the fact that, well, this is the job that we do, this is it. And thankfully now, because I've done this for so long, you know, there's not much I can really expect from this. And that's good, because then I don't have to try and push my way into a better job or a better lifestyle or anything like that, because then my expectations need to go up and there's a risk that maybe it won't happen and I'll be really upset with myself. I mean, that's another direct area in which, why does it keep refocusing? Can you stop refocusing, please? I want to change this. Facebook Live, get it together. What's this button up here? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, maybe I could just, oh no, am I still here? Oh God, where am I? Oh no, what's happened? Oh, have I stopped? Where am I? I don't know where I've gone. Oh, there I am. Whoa, whoa. It's probably all right, to be fair. It's probably fine. So that would be one of the issues, yeah, in terms of that fear of progression, that fear of development, and what that means when we take that responsibility on. Then there is the other thing. Now, I did mention something else here. There was the fear of setting expectations low and setting expectations high. I think it's what we expect of ourselves. So how it looks when we actually start to want more for ourselves, because that's really what high expectations are. It's wanting more for ourselves. Now, can you set your expectations too high? Yes, of course you can, but there's nothing wrong with that. What's up, Elliot? Thank you very much for joining. Hello. Thanks for letting me know you're here. By the way, everyone, again, if you're in the room, I don't know you're in the room, so you're going to have to let me know who's in the room, because I don't actually know who's here. No, there's nothing on Facebook telling me who's here or who isn't. I love it if Facebook could do that. That would be great. That would be great. And so it is about what you want for yourself, which can tie in again to your self-esteem, your self-confidence, because you might want something for yourself, but then there might also be this thing kicking in saying, I don't think I'm worth it, I don't think I deserve it. And that could just be the value that you have in who you are and what you represent, what you've done, etc., etc. So actually, if I link this back to the person who kind of sparked this video, who mentioned about low expectations and keeping them low, I see someone who is working very hard actually to put themselves in the best health they can be in, as well as, you know, having a family to look after, you know, having a husband to love, and having a family around them that means something to them. But apparently, while they're doing all this, they're not able to actually acknowledge fully that they mean something to other people as well. And they're not able to acknowledge fully that they're actually taking action to better their life so that they can set their expectations higher of things. And so there's almost like a mental block where they're not allowed to accept that what they're doing. And I'm very familiar with this as well. They're not allowing themselves to accept the reality that actually they're worth more than they think. They don't want to go into that space. It's not comfortable for them, because again, it doesn't go along with how they feel, how they see themselves, how they hold themselves, or to what regard, and so on. So that does kind of say more about the individual as well. Excuse me, I'm going to have a little sup of tea. I'm not going to sit here and do a Facebook Live without my tea. And by the way, how straight up banging is that? Look at that. Look how banging is this. I love these things. Good things happen over tea. It's fantastic. And so there is something to do with that. And I guess when you put it that way, I mean, when you say, you know, as a sentence, I set my expectations low, so I'm never disappointed. And that means when good things do happen, I can celebrate those and so on. That does sound justifiable. But then at the same time, when you actually dig into what that person's really saying, you're actually seeing someone who might not necessarily see themselves as worthwhile, which is sad because they absolutely should be worthwhile, certainly at least to themselves. You know, set your expectations high. Expect more things, and you can expect more things of the stuff you do, and it'll be a progression. It'll be a slow step-by-step process. So instead of just expecting low, just expect a little bit more each time. You know, just a little stepping stone. Just expect that a little bit more. Actually, if I may, for example, I will talk, because I know Elliot's in the room, so I'll actually talk about, for example, my growth, my development over the last year, because it's actually kind of similar to what Elliot's done. And Elliot told me about his achievement, about his not drinking, and I was really proud of him. Elliot, I'm super, super proud of what you've done. Because, and also it wasn't just that, it was actually when you mentioned something to me that I was like, so you know, and you're in control, and that's fucking spectacular that you're doing that. Because it's amazing how we can lose track of where we're going and what we're doing. Certainly when we really want to look after ourselves. So, for example, you know, you take that first step. So for me, that first step was acknowledging, of course, that I had a problem that I needed to make a change. Then, of course, the next step was, how do I make the change? What do I need to prepare for? Then the next step was, you know, what's going to happen? Da, 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 da. Eventually, of course, it came to making the change, and I had to do it. So, in fact, what I did was I set my date of change, my action, about a month or something ahead of time. So I always knew it was there, so I could always prepare to take the action. It's just I gave myself a chance to prepare for that action taking. Of course, then it came to the action taking, I took it. And then I just enveloped myself in all the experiences that came along with that. So then things happened. And it was just slow. I never went, right, I want to go from 0 to 100. I never went, right, I want to make sure that I'm doing all of this stuff now. And I can catch myself when I'm doing that. I think I went through that recently. That was in one of my weekly challenges videos where I had expected more of myself than I could actually achieve. And I had to check myself. I had to go, hey, look, stop trying to push yourself so hard. Don't lower your expectations so far. Challenge yourself. Make sure that you're developing, but don't push your expectations so high that they become unattainable, because, yes, of course, you're going to be disappointed all the damn time. So it's about that sustainable expectation growth. And if you're comfortable in setting your expectations low, literally just take a step up. Just literally a boop, just right there. Just be like that. Because then what you're doing is you're developing a relationship with yourself where eventually you're going to slowly realize that, hang on a second, I haven't actually let myself down in a while. Or there was that one time, but actually it didn't matter because I just continued doing it anyway and I was fine. So so actually I don't need to set my expectations low at all. Actually, I love what I've produced. I love what I've done. I love the way I've developed. This is great. I can just keep doing this. Spectacular. Like, that's fine. I'll just do it that way then. And being able to not even find an end goal, because there'll be so many aspects of your life where you'll need to, you know, continue to do this. You know, you could talk about it at work. You could say in your relationship. You could say with your family. You could say just in your personal life, in the way you think. Da, 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 da. There'll be so many different standards where you'd want to set your expectations. You know, and yourself can be one of them. So I think in terms of setting your expectations low, it's something that should be thought about, at least. You know, where you turn to yourself and go, hey, why do you set your expectations low? Why are you expecting so little? What are you afraid of happening, really? If it's disappointing people, well then you, me, whatever, that is a natural part of life. We're going to disappoint someone. We're going to have to let someone down at some point. We don't like it. Nobody wants to disappoint someone. Nobody wants to let someone down. So that sensation, again, shouldn't, it's something that we will go through. However, again, it's to the extent at which we go through it and how severe we might see that event taking place, and whether or not it's actually going to happen as well. So, you know, there is that element of things. So that would be it. While we're here, again, I'm going to see anyone in the room who's here, who's present right now, because I'd love to know which two people I've got in the room right now. I love it. You guys are, excuse me, you guys are all here. I mean, to be fair, it's not the right time. Everyone's at work at the moment, so of course no one's here to watch the live video. That's totally okay. But who's in the room, and who fancies a quick chat? Who fancies a catch up? Because again, I always like these live sessions where people will talk back. I always want people to give me something, because otherwise, again, I'm just rambling here. And I could honestly give information that you might disagree with. But if you disagree with it or have any other opinions, then add them to the discussion. Add them in. I've always welcomed it because it's something that, again, I mean, this is kind of an element of that expectation. Of me going, I expect myself to be able to deliver a live video on low expectations and why they're not a way to prevent disappointment. And of course, I could get to the end of the video going, you know what, I didn't quite get the information I wanted to, bit of a letdown, but okay, we'll make sure that we make it focus next time. But then, of course, I can avoid that disappointment by inviting you guys to enter discussion. Maybe it'll spark something else, some other little inspiration that we all have to share. And it's something else that everyone can take away and go, huh, you know what? I never saw it that way. No, look at that. So, I mean, I guess there's another element about low expectations. I think it's basically to say that just because you have high expectations, that doesn't mean that you're always going to be disappointed. And actually, it might mean that rewards are better. It's almost like, if I could put it now, I just pictured it in my head. It's almost like our expectations are low, like down here. Let's see if I can keep it in the screen. And the event that takes place happens here. So, of course, it levels out and it's fine. However, if our expectations are down here and the event takes place and it's up here, it kind of goes, whoa, wow, that's fantastic. That's great news. But it seems like then we've got it in this linear concept that if we have our expectations up here and the event is met, that we're just going to go, oh, okay, cool. Like, that's going to be it. Like, we're not, because our expectations are there, we literally expect that to happen. So it's like, yeah. And I know that there is some form of truth in there. However, it's also a lot to do with the fact that if your expectations up here, that actually has a lot to do with how you see your achievement level, your confidence levels, your self-esteem levels, your ability levels, things like that. And so when you're meeting up with that, that still feels, I'll be honest, pretty damn good, because you're like, well, good. I'm still doing the things that mean that I'm looking after myself. I'm still doing the things that mean that, I'm achieving, I'm getting there, I'm da-da-da-da-da. And it's a different kind of thing. It's not like you meet your high expectations and you celebrate every single time, but it's that constant feeling of yes, good, yes, that kind of thing. Whereas down here, I would say, from what I remember, it's very much like, yeah, of course that happened. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Down here, that's actually more common. That's what happens down here. And so really, ultimately, that was the other thing as well. I love how it says poor wireless connection. I'm cabled in here, so that's rubbish. What do you mean wireless? You're plugged in. Wireless. What? Hello. There was another thing, and I did say this to a classroom, and I mean, I will say, okay, you got to understand the context in which I said this. But everything was cool, okay? It wasn't like I was mad or like I was having a go. Everything was cool in the room, and I gave it the tone, and they did kind of take it on board. But they were saying exactly this, and I said, okay, well, do you know what? Low expectations, that may work for you, and it'll work to a certain point. But I did that same thing, and I set my expectations low. The thing is, because I set my expectations low, I allowed and was satisfied with very low quality events transpiring in my life. And so all that did was that led me to being 29 years old, still working for minimum wage and living at home with mum and dad. You know, and that was it. That was the truth of it. That was basically the result of it. And they all kind of sat like, oh, wow. I mean, there was some judgmental looks, but I was just like, well, that's what it gets you. That's where you end up. Well, that's at least an element of where you can end up. Sorry, not that exactly. That's an element of where you can end up. So that's you know, the result of low expectation thinking. That's unfortunately one of the byproducts of low expectation thinking, is that things can go on for so long. You may be a little bit annoyed at the fact that things have been stagnant. You may be annoyed at the fact that things have stayed the same. You may be annoyed at the fact that things seem to continue to barrage you with shit. But the thing is, if you expect that, that is exactly what's going to happen. So you kind of have to make a decision as to whether or not you want to continue down that path where you go, yes, this happened and this is what I've expected to happen, so it's okay, and I can't really be mad at this because this is what I expect. Or whether you go, I expect more from life, I expect more from myself, not loads more, just a little bit more from myself, and I you know, I want to be able to achieve that, and so I know that I need to make those little changes to make sure that happens, and so that it's not a constant barrage of shit heading my way. And that would be really one of the main benefits. That would be one of the main benefits, I'd say, of getting your expectations up a little higher. Because also it does kick your ass. I mean, you know, those moments where you ask yourself, are you going to tolerate this? Are you going to take this shit? That's that thing. Are your expectations there? Is that where they are? Is that what you want from this situation? And you go from there. That's very much it. There you go. Hello, David. Thank you very much. Yes, self-fulfilling prophecies. That's exactly, that's one of them. That's exactly it. If you expect shit, you get shit. That's pretty much there. And again, I mean, I know that's not completely, again, not so linear. Wow, that was very personal development, motivational post right there. That was a bit much. But it is that. It's this element of, if you have the low expectations, again, psychologically, you're saying to yourself, you don't want to be disappointed. You don't want to get yourself into a space where you have to do more or get more. Just stay down here because that's where you belong. That's where you're comfortable. That's where things are good. What am I getting a phone call for? Oh, right. Okay. So, so you want to make sure that you are in a space where if you are not happy with the way things are going, if you're not happy with the end results of things, excuse me, it's not about turning into a bull. It's not about turning into a bulldog. It's not about turning into a dragon or, you know, like this powerful force, like a steam train that pushes you forward. It's accelerating at a sustainable pace. It's making little steps here and there to go, do you know what? You know, this time I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going to try this and see what happens. I'm going to try it. Because it's you don't want to give yourself exposure therapy. You know, you don't want to be like, I'm scared of swimming, so I'm going to dive into the deep end of this dark pool. Like, nah. No, you just want to literally do it the most sustainable way. Toe first, big toe, then the next toe, then the next toe, then the next toe, then the next, right until you get up to like kind of just below the waist, where you can, I mean, I don't know if women go through this, but you get just below the waist, and that next step is really where you know how cold it really is. And that's it. Here we go. Go on then, Lewis. Right, hello, welcome in, buddy. Don't you think if you go into everything expecting sunshine and rainbows and everything's going to be hunky-dory, eventually you'll find yourself let down or challenged in ways you weren't ready for? This is exactly what I've been saying. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you very much. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. The thing is, we have this binary structure of the way things should be. We think that if we either have low or we have high expectations. And this actually digs directly into what I was talking about earlier about this whole pessimist realist thing, okay? Now, remember, I will say always, I'm a humanist. I'm all about every human emotion, every human experience, because that's what builds us. That's what makes us exactly human. And for us to deny those things is us denying who we are. So we cannot shut down the fact that sometimes shit ain't going to go our way. We can't. I'm all about managing these instances. I'm all about managing when shit doesn't go our way as much as when shit does, because we still have a responsibility in how we act for ourselves when this stuff happens. So yes, there is this element. Well, actually, what you say honestly, Lewis, is absolutely true. Basically, that's it. You're absolutely right. If you keep going into everything going, this is going to be great, 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 then obviously, yeah, you're going to start ramping up the number of times you go, that wasn't so great. But that's because you're being an optimist, I suppose. You're being far too much of an optimist, and that's not balance. That's basically thinking that, yeah, life is great and everything's wonderful. And actually, I look into this areas of people talking about, for example, and I'll put it this way again, they're a catalyst. They should be a starting point, but not an end goal. Is this idea of safe spaces, for example. You know, if we put ourselves in these positions. Hi, Neil. Yes, indeed. Yeah, blind optimism. If we put ourselves in these positions where we don't ever have to face up to the challenges, then we are pretty much blocking ourselves out from the world. And we might be blocking ourselves out from the evils, which of course are magnified in our heads because of our experiences, which we need to bring back down to a certain space. But we're also taking away the good things out there. So again, it's looking at that balance of going, do you know what? I don't want to have to deal with X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to shut myself off. And even if that includes shutting off A, B, and C as well, then that's what it is. Be what it is. So it is about looking at things and going, you know, what do I want for myself? Do I want this to be a good scenario? Yes, I do. And I'll take my personal experience here. So right now, this event's coming up, and I didn't spend as much time as I wanted to marketing it. Obviously, right now, I'm putting a lot of effort into making sure that people know about it, but I'm aware that I didn't put the amount of time and effort into it at first that I should have done. So right now, I'm in a space where I could go, you know, yeah, like, it's loads of people are going to turn up, tons of people are going to turn up, and blindly do that and literally go, that's it. Of course people are turning up. It's me. Duh. Why wouldn't everyone turn up? Like, everyone wants to turn up to the event. But then I also, at the same time, I mean, that's blind optimism. At the also, well, hang on. Where is it? Have you ever seen Rabbi Dr. Abraham Twitter? I think so. That sounds familiar. I might Google that in a second, Lewis. I might Google that in a second. That sounds familiar. I think I have, but I don't know. I didn't know that was who it was. But then, yeah, so I could go at it going, oh, yeah, loads of people are going to turn up, da-da-da. And then I go to the event and, like, you know, 5 people turn up, and I'm like, oh, you know, and that's it. But of course, then what I'm doing is I am setting myself up to be disappointed because I haven't even prepared or considered the idea that stuff could go wrong. And again, it's about that balance of going, you know, I should want people to turn up. Of course, I want there to be a full room. I picture the room being full, and I picture the room having a lot of people who want to be there. I'm actually also picturing some people who might turn up for a joke. Considering the places that I've marketed this event, I'm actually considering some people might turn up to troll the event, to be honest with you. But also, I'm preparing myself as well for a situation where very few people turn up, because I'm already aware of the action that's been taken and the things that have been done in order for that to happen. So again, for me, that's that whole thing of not necessarily being a pessimist, it's being a realist, where it's like, well, yeah, that could happen, but also this could happen. But whatever, let's just do it and see what happens, because I can't dwell on either. I have to be objective in this scenario. So here we go. Neil, some people are actually afraid of being too happy because they think something tragic is going to happen soon. This is known as, can I say this right? Cherophobia? Not cherophobia. That sounds far too happy. Cherophobia. Well, that's interesting. Okay, I've actually not heard of that phobia before, but that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me, because that would mean that, yeah, there would be some instance in which they've experienced, seen, or again, heard of a lot of stories where people's happiness has been brought down. Hi, Tanisha. Hello, darling. Brought down to the ground, like plummeting to the earth into a fit of depression, where people's experiences of good times and doing well and so on have literally, just plummeted. And I think it's like, because they've had a lot to lose, some people will have literally lost it all. And some people would rather not have, so that they don't have to lose, instead of, they'd rather not have instead of having something they could lose, because that loss is terrifying. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Let me look up this this thing now. I'm going to copy it in. Let me copy it into Google and see if I can find it now. Google! I'm going to just put you over there, because I actually don't know what's going to happen on the screen while I'm looking at this. So, now, You're going to put it in lobster shell. I have a feeling it's something about the lobster grows inside the shell, but it doesn't, because the shells are set like a hard space. It doesn't actually grow. It stays the same size. It's something like that. Here we go. What lobsters teach us about stress. This is from this guy. Yeah. Da da da. Right. When a lobster leaves its shell, in the process of growth and change, it becomes very vulnerable. Because the shell... Okay, I'll read this out to everyone so we can all be here and see. Because the shell of a lobster is hard and inelastic, it must shed its shell in order to grow. Oh, I don't know how to say that. Ecdysis, commonly called shedding, occurs when a lobster extrudes itself from its old shell. The overall process of preparing for, performing, and recovering from ecdysis is known as molting. Unlike animals that are soft-bodied and have skin, a lobster's shell, once hard, will not grow much more. Lobsters show intermediate growth. That is, they grow throughout their lives and therefore spend much of that time preparing for undergoing ecdysis. I think ecdysis sounds better. That sounds better. We'll go with that. Between molt, a lobster's flesh becomes densely packed within its shell and a new shell. Soft and flexible, within its new shell, soft and flexible. It's laid down inside the old. Shortly before molting, several things take place. Calcium is moved from the old shell and deposited in special structures called gastroliths that are located on the stomach wall. As blood leaves the appendages, okay, this is getting into a whole... Yeah, no, I don't think I need to explain all this to you. You get the point, though. Basically, in order for people to grow, and in order for the lobsters to grow, they need to get out of their shell. They need to get out of that. But they need to obviously be ready to do that. And I think with people... I'm not against safe spaces at all. I think everyone should... When they have a trauma, they have difficulty, they need that. I mean, to be fair, what are pubs? What are social meets? What are these places we go to? These retreats we go to? What are holidays? They are, in effect, safe spaces. You know, they're spaces we go to temporarily to get ourselves away from shit, to be able to forget about stuff, to allow that stress to diffuse so that we can not feel at effect from it all the time. The thing is, sometimes our safe spaces aren't actually all that safe. But anyway, that's a whole different... So yeah, thank you, Lewis. Thanks for pointing that one out. Not actually the same analogy, I think. Well, actually, I guess it is, but it wasn't the same story, because I basically heard that sometimes lobsters can be in their shell, they stay in there, and they don't grow. They don't actually get any bigger. Or not lobsters, crabs. One of those creatures, they just don't grow. They stay in the shell. They need to get out of their shell. So it's similar. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. Progress does not come from comfortable means. It comes from painful challenges, except these sometimes even welcome these. Wait, hang on. Except these. Oh, I see. No, I see what you mean. So, the thing is, now, this is another thing in balancing that I want to add to what you said, Lewis, because it's, again, this is the thing about our mindset and the way that we talk, and it's something I've become very, very sensitive to, because again, the time you spend, I'm not even going to make this exclusive to restaurants. I think when you spend enough time with certain people, you'll begin to recognize that their language, no matter how positive it's dressed, is incredibly negative. And it's this really insidious effect it has on your mentality when you hear language and the way it's used. I mean, you look at comedy, for example, and the way that it covers up some horrendous topics, and it's got this wonderful way of making you smile about something that you think, you really shouldn't smile about that. And so we're very good at being negative. We are really, really good at being negative, which is why I believe we end up with quite a few of the difficulties that we face as human beings, individually, because we're so in tune with being negative. It's that fight or flight response, or as Chris Richards shared with me recently, fight, flight, freeze or fuck, which I think I'd love for him to share. It's so funny. But it's this idea that we're always trying to, it's that self-preservation, it's that primitive survival instinct we have, where, we want to make sure that we're protecting ourselves at all times, which means if something is bad, we want to make sure we're protected from it. There's work being done that adds positivity in any way, shape or form into our survival instinct. And so far what we've got is that happiness and joy and comfort and, let's say, pleasure and things like this are there for our survival instinct because they actually reinforce our need to protect ourselves. They become kind of the reason we protect ourselves so that we can enjoy these things. Because what's the point in staying alive if we don't find the reason to stay alive other than just to stay alive? You know, human beings have this wonderful ability to celebrate, to have joy, to laugh, to fuck. You know, we have this thing to pleasure, and yet we don't fully address that. We're so in tune with making sure we stay alive, making sure we don't get hurt, making sure we don't, you know, don't put ourselves in danger or put ourselves at risk. But it's like, well, why are you doing this? You know, what's the point? Surely there's some reason why. So we can enjoy ourselves. We can spend time with our friends, spend time with our family, love, live, laugh, marry, you know, have kids, be parents, go through all these things. So we must address the positive as well. And so for what you said, sorry, after all that rambling, Lewis, I think we do also grow from good things because we're also telling ourselves what we enjoy. We tell ourselves, this is why I'm alive. You know, for like your first time on a roller coaster, maybe your first time you went bungee jumping or skydiving, or first time you fell in love, the first time you kissed someone, the first time you had sex, the first time you put on a pair of clothes that made you feel good. Do you know what I mean? These are the reasons that we want to be alive, because we get to celebrate these things. And it is about balance, because we can go, sometimes life is shit, sometimes life is hard, sometimes life is painful, and we learn from those. But we can also learn from the times when life is good to us, because we go, that is why, you know, I want to survive. That's why I want to stay alive. And then sadly, because we're still in this mindset, I believe, of not addressing it fully, of not going at it properly, we're unable to get in touch with that, really. And so there's a lot, I mean, I'm seeing it now, you know, there's a lot of resistance against positivity because people are actually at odds with it. They're actually at odds with happiness and positivity because it's just not something they've put in value in their life. It's not something they've actually ever gone, I should be happy. I should be content. I'm a human being. I'm allowed to have it. It's not impossible for me to have. I should have that, you know? And we ridicule it, actually. We ridicule people who are too happy. We ridicule joy and positivity. And we almost spend more time putting resistance up against people who want happiness than we do against people who want negativity. And all we do is look very carefully into the way that we talk to each other, the way we communicate, the way that we are as societies and groups and so on, and you'll see it. You'll start to see the way that we actually are in tune so much more with being life is shit, you know, and it's so often. And again, I saw it many times today. If you look at my status updates and the way that people have talked, I mean, it's not, again, I don't want to say like I've been attacked at all. It's not like that. It's the way that people will people will often push against this concept of having positivity in our lives. As a balance, you know, just as a balance of the shit, because we'll all talk about the shit. We all love to bring up the shit, but what about the good stuff? What about, you know, how much you love your partner? You know, why can't we share that? Why can't we? It's cheesy. Fuck cheesy. It doesn't. So what? It's cheesy. Do you love them or not? You know, and how do you celebrate that? Do you really celebrate that? Do you get into the moment? You know, do you spend that time? And I'm going to say this really cheesily as well. Do you have moments where you look at your partner and you literally are just like, I don't know how to put it into words the way it feels when I look at you, but fuck me, do I love the shit out of you right now. I love you so much. That wave you just gave me, what the fuck is that? Like, give me some more. You're a drug now. I'm addicted to you. Like, why do you do this to me? And, you know, it's being present at that moment, being able to feel that and go, yeah, that's why I'm fucking alive. That's why I get the job to pay the bills. That's why I look after myself, because then I can stay alive to enjoy this feeling. That's what I'm doing. And again, it's that balance. Sorry, I went off. Anyway, Neil, the two most important days in your life, the day you're born and the day you find out why. Yeah, I love that. I like that quote. That's wonderful. Wonderful. I do love that. Yeah, I do love that quote. It is beautiful. But of course, that's a big one. You know, why are we alive? And I think everyone's allowed their own definition on that, because everyone will have religious reasons, spiritual reasons. I'm just I think you'll guess, you know, for me, the purpose of life, and I've actually said this to a classroom. I said, you're perfectly welcome to have your own perspectives on it. Because someone asked me, what's the meaning of life? And I just said, well, for me, personally, just me, saying to you, Dan, Holly, just speaking to you guys, to me, the purpose of life is to live and enjoy everything that comes your way, every experience you go through. Not enjoy, sorry, because that's not the right word to use, but to oh gosh, now this is a careful one. I mean, I don't want to say just live through, but just to acknowledge fully and find ways to appreciate everything that you are as you grow, and everything that happens around you, because it's as much a part of being human as we should be experiencing. And I know that seems unfair, because immediately people are going to be like, well, what about people who just have shit in their life and so on? Well, that's exactly why we need that balance of positivity. You know, that's exactly why, because they're not able to experience that. And I want to put that message out there to get people into that space where their life is not just shit. I want to get people in a space where they can find that balance of going, yeah, it has been shit, but do you know what? Hey, have you heard about Disneyland? You know, and that's a shallow example, but I hope you get what I mean, right? I hope you get what I mean when I say that. So yes, I've watched the entire Black Mirror's like series. I've watched it all. Actually, no, I haven't watched the last episode, the bees one. I haven't seen that, but I've watched it all, and I find it fascinating because, again, this is an interesting point I'm going to make now, because this actually digs a lot into why I'm doing this, and also a bit of research done by a guy called Chris Irons. He's a cognitive behavioral therapist and a compassionate mind therapist as well, and he had done some research on adults and our self-awareness, which I don't know what it sounds like to you guys. I mean, I think beforehand, I think maybe because of the context in which it was presented to me, self-awareness sounded like this whole spiritual thing, and at the time I was just like, whatever. So I completely just put it aside. But now, actually, I'll be honest, I'm a huge advocate of it, because, again, without that self-awareness, we're not actually able to embrace what makes us human. And it's nothing to do with spiritual stuff at all. It's literally the physical things that are going on with us, what's happening every time. And it's a wonderful start to a healing process. Self-awareness is a great place to start. But Black Mirror, to me, as dark and as empty and as void as I feel after every single episode, I just love that show. I absolutely adore that show, because to me it is the embodiment of the wonderful technological advances that we can actually make, and where our future could go. But also it's a dark, dank example. Focus, camera, focus. I just stop moving around. I think that's what it is. It's because it's trying to focus on me. Come on, focus. Come on, focus. Go on. And it's a dark, dank example of the fact that human beings are not aware of what we're actually capable of, and thus we don't recognize the responsibility we have when we do things. Because to me, Black Mirror has represented, every single episode in some way, shape or form has represented human beings' complete unawareness of their responsibility in what they do. I mean, it's like they're able to do all these wonderful things, and we're able to do all these fantastic things, and yet we haven't evolved ourselves to get to the stage where we can actually embrace it. Chris Irons, I think, said, was it Chris Irons? Well, I'll say this now. Chris Irons did some research, and he concluded that 47% of adults are not aware of themselves. They're not aware of what they're doing and what's happening in their life. That's what 47% of adults. That's a lot of fucking adults, you know, of people who just aren't generally aware of what's going on at that time, you know, in terms of what they're thinking, what they're doing, what's coming out of their mouth. And you can tell, because you can hear things that come out of people's mouths that basically you're like, are you listening to yourself right now? You know? And I guess I get paranoid a little bit, because I'm like, sometimes I do just go and I'm not actually aware of what's going on. But the feedback comes in, because people will say you're making sense, or they'll say, but you said this, they'll call me out on my shit, which is great, because it means that I'm able to understand what I'm saying and how it sounds, and I can go, okay, no, that's maybe that, you know, I was wrong there. But also, I think it was him or someone else who's basically saying, we have evolved to a state where our lives are far more complicated, but we haven't acknowledged our ability to adapt to the complications. Much like if you look at what were they? This is the example this particular person used, and it might have been Chris Irons, it might have been someone else. I've completely gone off topic now. I should edit the name of this video because it's not why low expectations are not to prevent disappointment. But I guess I could tie it in so much as, hang on, I'm going to put a comment in here just saying hello to newcomers. Hello, newcomers. There we go. I want to tie it in quickly because it is about our evolution in terms of our thought process. I think we still run to some extent on our primitive states. And what they said was that a long time ago we didn't have all the stuff we have. Right now I'm sat in my room on a gaming chair, you know, which has this comfortable cushion with my head, which actually I rarely use. I've got a webcam in front of me. I've got two webcams actually, but one's not in use. I've got this screen here, which is where Facebook Live's going, but I've also got this screen here. I've also got, you know, this computer here, which is plugged into a modem, which is sending all this information out into the world so that you can see it. And technically, you know, this could be shared around. Anyone, I guess, could actually watch this. So this could be viewed by the entire world right now, which is magnificent. And we've kind of taken that for granted. However, we've not been aware of how that we haven't really fully taken on the responsibility of how that's actually affected us mentally, because what's happened is the slight elements of paranoia can kick in and really get us going, whoa, oh my God, you know, we're suddenly like, whoa, you mean the whole world's watching? Like, shit, oh God, maybe they'll see a booger up my nose, maybe they'll see me spit, maybe they'll see the Nike box on top of my cupboard and think, oh, Nike, what a rubbish brand. You know, maybe they'll notice that there's this little ribbon over here and they'll start to get paranoid and more paranoid than they were before. But we're not able to come to terms with that change. That's one example. But again, if I could put this example in, this is an interesting conversation I had with someone recently, you know, about technology. Technology is advancing so quickly and it's getting so much, but it's not, what is it? It's not lasting as well as it used to. And their example was, I remember the days when you had a car and cars could last for, you know, years and years and years, and now you have to take them to the garage every so often and blah, blah, blah. Well, the truth of the matter is, there was a time when cars was pretty much, you know, like an engine, a case, and four wheels. That's all you had to look after, you know? So you pump the tires up, make sure they were pumped up, make sure the car had petrol in it, probably oil it. That was it. You could probably do that in your own time. That's easy. That could be a 10-minute job. Done. But now your car has connection to satellites zooming around the Earth. Now your car has radio. Now your car has electronics. Now your car has a weight distributor to make sure you stay stable. Now your car has suspension. Now your car has all of these things going on in it. That's no longer a 10-minute job for you to look after at home. You need to take it out to get it looked at by a professional, by someone who knows. But again, that's a change in our lifestyle, but we haven't, and our thoughts and our beings haven't evolved at the same rate as technology for us to be aware of that. So Black Mirror to me is a full representation of how it's just going to continue to go if we don't stop and look at what we're doing. Just us individuals, not people, just us individuals. We don't have to take on we're not trying to take on the responsibility of the human race on our shoulders, just our own, you know, just to go, hey, am I thinking right? Am I really in line with what I should be doing? Am I really being the person I should be? Does that fit in terms of my morals? Because this is another big one, and I did a video about self-awareness not long ago, but it's astonishing. And actually, I'll open this up completely right now, and I'll say, this is the biggest issue that I see in race relations around the world, is the fact that people can have their belief system saying, I'm not racist, I'm not bigoted, I'm not sexist, whatever. You know, they can say that, and they can believe that in themselves. But the thing is, they won't be aware of what comes out of their mouth when they speak. So they won't actually be aware, that while their beliefs might be that they're not racist and they believe that equality lives everywhere, the stuff that comes out of their mouth contradicts them completely. And so when other people hear that, unfortunately, what they hear is, no, your beliefs, whatever. It's like when you hear about, I guess it's when you hear about some, anyone who has a certain set of beliefs, you know, you start to hear the cracks because they're not fully aware of what it is they're actually saying and what it is they're actually trying to put out into the world. And again, that happens with our work, it happens with our family lives, our personal life, our principles. We put them at odds and we're not aware of that. And then we get mad when things don't quite work out you know, we get angry when things don't really happen the way we want them to happen. And it puts it kind of, I think this is, if I bring it full, like 180 degrees or 360 degrees, however, back to the original point of this video, it puts us in this state where we end up lost because we're not aware of what we're doing. We don't know why things aren't working out for us. And we're still running on this instinct of focusing on the negative, focusing on survival. We're not going into the further elements of enjoying life properly, the way we want to. And we're not really going into it. Because again, that's where the balance kicks in. That's where we're able to go, this needs to happen. You know, I need to enjoy myself. And again, enjoyment is a funny thing because I'll throw this out here. The number of people who think that they can only have fun from drinking, that's a prime example again of how I say enjoy ourselves, and people might immediately think, well, yeah, sure, I go out every Friday and have a drink with my mates. But we don't know what effect that drinking is actually having on the rest of our week. We have no idea. Because we don't really try and actually go and do something different. Anything at all. Anything different. You know? Maybe going on a tour of a whiskey factory. Maybe going on a tour of a gin factory. Just doing something else other than just, you know, doing something that actually doesn't make us feel actually good. Long term. It's a short term hit with a long term detriment to our mental health. And so, again, the concept of joy. I think even my dad said recently, which was an eye-opener, you know, this generation that I'm in, our generation, we're only just getting to this concept of actually understanding how to relax, you know, and everyone's talking about meditation at the moment, switching off, yada, yada, da, da, da. But that might be one way. That's one way. But how do we really switch off? Do we go on holiday, sit on a beach? I mean, we've been doing that for years, but people are still stressed. Maybe because they still have to work on holiday. You know, how do we really switch off? How do we really enjoy ourselves? You know, how do we enjoy ourselves? It's an interesting area, and that's where we find that balance that we need to find, so that we don't become encased and boxed in and feeling like the world sat on top of our shoulders. And so we develop these fears of not wanting to try just that little bit harder for ourselves. And it's understandable. I'm not beating anyone up here again. It's understandable because we're like, fuck it, the world's just going to beat me up anyway. So why should I? Why should I go above here? Why should I try that? And that's really, I guess, where I ended up, certainly, you know, just being in the same job, getting mad at the world. And it's a trap we fall into. So we want to make sure that we're able to manage everything that comes at us. I'm going to have to cut it off now because I've got moving. I've realized I just talked. No one has said a comment. I've just been talking. I don't know. Has anyone been listening? Who's here? Like, who's in the room now? I'll cut it off at the hour mark and we'll leave it there. But if we actually just bring it back, to why low expectations are not the way to prevent disappointment, I'd love to hear more from you guys about that. Or if we want to continue the conversation the way it's going, actually, because this has been wonderful so far. Just you guys sat there. I don't even know if you're even listening. I really don't. So I'm just gonna have a little sip of my tea. This cup couldn't look better. I just adore it. I think it's great. I think I think this is all part of what I'm really keen to do, and I think it's interesting because I'll actually confess. I lick my fingers after dipping them in tea. I need the tea that badly. I don't want the dregs off my fingers. I think this is the interesting part, actually, in terms of my own development and what I've noticed is that, if I'm honest, I actually still, to this day, don't really respond well to those motivational posts. I'm aware that I've put them out, but even now, they kind of still bug me. And I think it's because when you sit in a state of low self-esteem or low confidence or negativity for long enough, when your expectations stay low, that everything's low, you do get a chance to question things. You do. And so when you have people out there who are being, you know, seemingly obnoxiously positive, seemingly, you want to question them. You want to continue to question them and be like, why do you be like that? Because that's annoying. And I think I don't know. I don't think I posted it. But I realized that motivational posts often they look like the chin up mate of, you know, Facebook, basically. It's like your mate just going, oh, chin up, you know, deal with it, whatever. That's what it feels like. It's kind of like this simple thing that you just see and everyone goes, oh, thanks, that's really helpful. Great, whoop-de-doo, hey, way. And, you know, it's problem solved. But I still want to, while that negativity, you know, I'm aware of, and I sit there and go, it's not that straightforward, it's not that simple, and I want to be able to tell people that. I also want people to go, yes, do you know what, it's not that simple. Yes, life can be difficult. Yes, negativity is a thing. Yes, we can be pessimistic every now and then. But while we're talking about negativity, pessimism, life is shit, life is difficult, fear of happiness, da-da-da, why can't we also at the same time talk about genuine joy? Why can't we also talk about genuine happiness? Why can't we talk about high expectations? Why can't we talk about these things without someone coming in and going, you're being too happy. Stop it. Stop it right now. Because, again, I'm aware that what that then can cause is this force of people going, well, I'm going to be even happier then to battle this negativity. And unfortunately, we just end up back where we were because nothing's really developed from there. So I'd definitely want to balance things out. I think balance is where it's at. So, has anyone else commented, or that's it really, isn't it? Can I pin that? Pin. Ooh, unpin. Wonderful. Well, I guess, you know what, I'm going to call it here then, because it looks like everyone is done here. And it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to everyone who's watched the live stream. I hope you've all got something out of this session. Until the next live video, and I look forward to seeing you all there with your comments and your discussions. You're wonderful. All of you are wonderful, except for those of you who aren't wonderful. Huh? Yeah, balance. Yeah, some of you aren't wonderful. Yeah, so no thanks to you, okay? And while I'm here, while I've got you here, please, I'm going to actually comment it. Oh, no, it's up there. Don't forget about my event. I've linked it over in the description of the video there. Brain Dead, Brain Fed, Confidence on a Plate. Do head over there and get yourself some tickets. I'd love to see everyone there to hear me talk about confidence, to talk about, indeed, the great stuff and the shit stuff. But also to give you some tools to take away so that you can start, you know, working on yourself as well, you know, bettering yourself, getting yourself where you want to go, by all means. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. This has been a magnificent pleasure. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, look, now I just sit here. I just sit here because I have to press the button. It's not like my videos where I can just bye-bye and cut. I have to, like, just, I did it. Smile at the camera now. I did click finish. Ha 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 ha.